everybody, and welcome to the Esports Awards Origins podcast, the podcast where we speak to your favorite creators, your favorite personalities, and in my case today, one of my favorite commentators of all time. His name is Dan Stemkoski, but you may know him better as Artosis. Hello and welcome.
Hey, great to be here. I'm really glad to be sitting down talking with you and being at my first Esports Awards.
Yes, first Esports Awards. It's a very big deal. We will be finishing an interview on exactly why you're here today. Just a quick intro for anybody that may be new to the podcast. It's called Origins for a reason. We want to talk about your origin, where you got introduced to gaming, what your family thought, how you got into esports. We may touch on the origin of Tastosis as well. You had the pleasure of sitting in on Nick's Tasteless's conversation later. He ran away. He abandoned you.
Yeah. He doesn't care what I have to say.
He says because you're going to be mean to him? Is that the case?
I'm going to expose the truth about Tasteless here today.
Yes, there we go. So stick with us till the end. It's called Origins. And I think it's not a big surprise, Dan. You're a little older than, I think, majority of your peers. So I just think it's a few years. What's your origin to gaming? What's your earliest memory?
Okay, so for video games, I'm not sure exactly which memory is the first because I have like three really, really early memories of one was playing Atari, like the original Atari games. I was born in 1983 for anyone wondering, so I'm 42 right now. And then I have a memory of like my dad used to bring me and my older brother to like a bar to eat, and I played like Pac-Man and Tetris on the, while we were waiting for our food or whatever on the arcade machines there. And I remember when we got the first Nintendo, I think we got that in like 1989 and playing like Mario and Duck Hunt and Legend of Zelda 1 on the TV when I was like 6 years old or so. So that was the beginning of me playing video games. With
just a couple of years, I'm 38 right now, just a couple of years extra, you are a little bit more developed, you're a little bit more aware, you're becoming an actual human. Do you look back at those early gaming days with fondness to be like, hey, I could appreciate it more than kids born in the 90s and things who were so young they didn't really see the growth?
Yeah, I think so. Like, playing on those old games and watching the progression. And the thing is, we were like pretty poor growing up. So like I didn't get the new systems right away, right? Like I had to save up for a Super Nintendo, and we got a Genesis eventually, and like, Nintendo 64 a year after it came out. So I wasn't able to get like every system right away, but I was like, so completely impressed as the video game industry kind of leveled up.
I mean, the Sega Genesis, if I remember correctly, was a 16-bit machine.
Yes.
I remember like the color.
It was awesome.
Being mind blown, right? I grew up in South Africa, so we didn't get the tech because of other reasons. It came later, so I can at least relate on that side. I'm hearing a lot of consoles, Atari, NES, Nintendo 64. When do you grow up and advance to the PC master race?
Yeah, well, I really liked PC games. My dad actually was like a computer programmer, so occasionally I got to play on his computer, but it was one of these like old VAX machines where like I would use like a literal grayscale version of like Paint, and this was like some weird operating system back in the day that doesn't even exist anymore. And then my mom worked at like an old like AGFA, some old computer. They had computers, but it was like, I think a film company. Yeah. So she would bring home the stuff they were going to throw out. Wow. And so we would play on these old, I don't know if you could really call them PCs. Yeah. But like we'd play them into the ground where literally smoke would start coming out and it would be dead. And that would be it. Because they were going to throw it out anyways. Really? And I remember playing, some of the oldest games ever. And like, I remember like getting really into Railroad Tycoon. God, we loved Railroad Tycoon when I was a little kid, myself and my older brother. And, played that a lot.
How old are you for this? Plus minus.
Gosh, that was before Windows 3.11 came out. So I'm not sure exactly what years these were.
Memory serves, I think that's either between 92 and 94-ish.
Yeah, so I would have been maybe 9, something like that. So yeah, but eventually my dad ended up getting us a Windows machine when Windows 3.11 came, or 3.11, whatever it was called. And at that point, I started really playing a lot of computer games. I actually had, the floppy disks and stuff, and I would bring it to his house on the weekends when I visited because he had an internet connection, and I would I would count it out, right? It was like 1.4 megabytes per thing. And like, okay, these games can fit on this one, and these games can fit on that one. I download everything and bring it home and play it all week.
I tell you something, this is one of the most gratifying small points or conversations I've had, because I have found in my professional life in esports, not enough people of our age experienced everything you've just described.
Yeah.
I'm just listening to what you're saying. I'm like, I did that. I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
Floppy disks and getting all the multiple disks one off the other. One of them gets corrupted. You have to start the whole process again. I vividly remember learning how to use Battle.net Online. It was Warcraft 2. It was my first game. And I can pinpoint exactly the first custom games because I sucked at 1v1s.
Yeah.
So I just played the custom maps. When did you start getting involved in the competitive side of things? When did you start discovering, let's say, multiplayer online games?
Yeah, so I think like basically the beginning of StarCraft was when I started doing competitive stuff. Like I had played some other games before that. Like I was really into Warcraft 2 when we first got a burned copy of that or whatever. And, played against computers all the time and just had so much fun. I thought that was the coolest game I had ever played at that point. But yeah, I started playing some Blizzard games. Like after that, I remember like for my birthday, my mom got me like Diablo 1 and StarCraft. And my friends had already shown me StarCraft. And so we had played that a little bit. And I was like, oh, it's like, Warcraft but space, whatever. Yep. So I was like, oh, Diablo, this is the one. This is so sick. And I played that a lot. And that was like, I played a little bit of StarCraft over that summer. That was leading into my high school career, right? I was entering into 9th grade. And so like, I played, mostly like money maps and just kind of very casual stuff. And then in like the first week of high school, I broke my ankle really badly. Like I was really into sports back then as well. I was like playing a lot of basketball. I did a lot of skating and stuff. But when I broke my ankle really, really badly, like I broke it on a trampoline. And so I wasn't able to walk for like 8 months or so. So I had to have like a competitive outlet. So I started playing StarCraft 1 at that point because I'd be at home stuck on the couch. Yeah, I can watch TV or I can play a video game. So that's when I started playing competitively and started actually playing 1v1s in StarCraft.
Now, I know your competitive career was something that, started and sparked and you went on to play a number of tournaments and then transitioned to commentary. So let's talk about the development of the competitive side, because I also know it's pretty well known that school wasn't a favorite of yours.
Yeah.
And this is, if you go look at the Wikipedia, you can read all the details. But let's talk about blossoming interest and passion and competition. And then how's the transition to commentary?
Yeah, so commentary was kind of an accident. So
okay, let's get to the accident last. Let's get to the accident at the end of it.
Okay. So like as far as the blossoming of like actual competitive play, so like I was starting to play StarCraft 1 more and more, and I found like an online community. I went to the Battle.net forums, like Battle.net used to have forums where people would talk. Yeah, they would talk about strategy. So I literally went to something that was called the Strategy and Tactics Forum. And they had a little community. So I went to the channel on Battle.net, Strat Forum Regs it was called, and like started learning there and like playing more and more 1v1. And one of the things that really got me into it was back in 1999, they had a World Championship Battle.net ladder tournament that happened. And there was no video or anything. So I would come home from school and hit refresh on the page to see if they had uploaded the latest battle report, which is what we used to have, which was literally someone would have sat in the game, because this was actually before replays existed. Yep. You could not have a replay of a game. So someone would literally be sitting in these championship games, taking screenshots, writing down what happened, then typing it up and uploading it to the Battle.net website. Ew. So I came home every day, and every day that there was an update of a new match, and they'd tell the story and some screenshots of like, there's the Hydralisks, and here's the new Protoss unit from Brood War. Whoa, that's so sick. And I remember reading this and like getting to know the names of the players, many of which I've actually met at this point from those old days. But that excited me so much. I was like, I'm going to get so good at this game that people talk about me. That was literally my little like 15-year-old brain. I was like, this is the coolest thing that there is. Like the fact that I know who these guys are because they're so good at this game. Yep. I'm going to do that. So from there, I just played like lots of StarCraft.
What's your fondest memory when you think back to tournaments? Do you think back to the matches that you played?
Oh, I mean, I have a lot of fond memories. I still do some competition, so I'm still building more memories. But yeah, I think probably the moment like when I really was buckling down. So these early memories, right? That was like year 1999, 2000, and then like as I got better and better and started flying around to tournaments and stuff. my big goal was to qualify for the World Finals to represent America in StarCraft. And the first time I did that was in 2004. So when I got through the tournament and beat the last player I had to beat to get to that spot, that was like a formative moment of my life where I'm like, I set this goal. I worked so hard. I did every possible thing I could do to get here, and here I am, and I've done it.
What did you find in terms of like looking at the esports industry? It's so clear that, speaking to you in comparison to Nick's exposure is a little bit more, let's say, broadcast, a little bit more like content consumption, at least in terms of how he shares it. For you, it sounds very much like it's competition. Like that's be all and all. How did you experience those early years of GOM TV, of the developing Brood War scene? And how much did you watch like international content versus like just training to beat your peers?
Yeah. So, I mean, I watched pretty much everything. Like, I found out about the competitive scene in Korea, and I found out how to navigate the Korean websites, how to install the Korean language pack on my computer so that I could actually start to read what it was, hit the right links and watch the videos. So, like, I definitely watched pretty much everything that came out. But, like, the thing is, StarCraft was pretty much the only thing I did, right? Like, I did not do well in school. I was sleeping through classes, like, because I was playing all night, because you'd want to play against Koreans, and it's an opposite time zone from East Coast America. So, I spent like a ton of time watching and playing, and eventually, that kind of just led to my career.
Just before we talk about the commentary career, do you reflect on that time proudly now? Obviously not struggling in school stuff, right? But like, do you reflect and be happy with where it's led you and what's happened?
Yeah. I mean, my whole life is completely different because of StarCraft. And I mean, I can't imagine really where else would I have gone here. I guess I had other interests, but like, it was a difficult time, trying to play all night and stuff. Like, my mother was very, I was actually really lucky that my parents were divorced, because my mom could not keep track of everything myself and my brothers were doing. So I could play a lot. Yeah. And like, that actually really, really helped, because I think if I had like two parents in the house, they would have been able to buckle down more. Because like, she would do things like take my keyboard or take the modem and just try to ban me from it. And eventually I had like a stack of modems under my bed. She took my keyboard. I'm like, I have other keyboards. That's my favorite one. Why are you doing this?
My parents take the kettle cords from the
exactly
stuff, and I just had backup kettle cords.
Yeah.
Please, by the way, kids, stay in school, study hard.
Yes.
Because especially today, the likelihoods of becoming an Artosis is significantly harder. It's way more challenging. And I think it is fair to say, when both of us began our careers, the bar was lower, the industry was smaller, there was less eyes on it. But you said you accidentally fell into commentary. Come on, how does that?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, the reason why I really love StarCraft is because I'm a very competitive person. I want to compete. I love to get better and that type of thing. And so, one thing that really was kind of irking me within the non-Korean scene is they have all these tournaments and stuff. And, there was probably a group back then. This is like maybe around 2006, 2007. Of like, there's a lot of players outside of Korea, and there's probably like a group of like 50 that were like dedicating their entire lives. Like, we were on all the time practicing, getting really good, not compared to the Koreans, but like really good for no money. If someone put $10 into a prize pool, every player was in it, right? So it was like, okay, we're working hard. So I was like, I want to make something for this. So that was my first time commentating. Is my buddy and I, Gentho, shout out to him, we made like a tournament and just kind of casted it with the really old, fraps, like
recording fraps.
Time. Yeah, the little watermark.
There are so many young people behind the cameras right now that don't even know what that is. We're talking that IRC is another thing, just nobody remembers.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to message them through that to get them to play. And so like we did some commentary on that.
How old are you at this point now?
So that was 2007, I want to say. So that would be like I was 24-ish, around there, for my very first commentary thing. And then, then Tasteless went to Korea, and TeamLiquid.net, which was a StarCraft site, invited me to do some commentary for the Star League, which is like the non-Korean, all the best players are playing, and it's like a little bit higher production. And, I was one of the well-known players. I was playing in the tournament too. And they're like, oh yeah, we'd like you to just drop by and do a commentary. And there was a bunch of people that they had contacted. And so I did the first commentary and everyone was like, he is so good. He's doing all of it. So they asked me and I casted the entire tournament and that went well. And then eventually, I was at this point really trying to get to Korea already. Okay. Like I had decided.
It was in your head.
Yes. In 2004, I made the decision. I'm like, I will go to Korea. This is happening. It's the only thing I care about. And I quit everything else in my life. And that was it. It would I had to play some big tricks on my mom to be able to practice as much as I was, but I was fully all in from 2004. So in 2008 now, I got contacted by a company that owned a pro team, Hexatron, which was the weakest pro team in the scene in Korea. And they had seen my commentary and they were trying to make a website because they saw StarCraft 2 on the horizon and they thought that the English speaking scene would be a good thing to grab onto. And Nick was in Korea and they contacted me and the contact was like, we just want to send you some video files and you commentate them and we'll upload them and maybe we can give you some money or something. I was like, this might be a little opportunity here to go become a pro gamer. And I was like, okay, you don't have to pay me, just bring me to Korea and I'll commentate for you. And so I got a 2-month deal where they're like, okay, we will fly you here. You can sleep in the pro gamer house and you come into the office and you commentate. And they got me a return ticket and I had them send that to California because that's where USA finals were for WCG that I was going to play. So I was like, okay. And I was like, this is it. This is the one opening that I'm going to have to get over there. And so I went completely on. I burned the boats.
Just happened to be in Vegas while we're filming this, by the way. The analogy is perfect.
Yeah, I guess it is. So they got me my ticket and it was for a week later. And so I was like, Mom, I'm going to Korea. And she's like, no, you're not.
You have an amazing mother from the sound. Very understanding and patient.
Well, she was shocked. She was shocked because she knew from 2004 that she's known for many years. For 8 years, I'd been obsessed with the game. And from 4 years, I've been trying to get to Korea. So it finally came up and I'm like, yeah, I'm literally going in a week. And so I gave her the deed to my car. I said, you can throw away everything in my room. I threw my keyboard into a duffel bag and just a couple books and my Game Boy or whatever, and that was it. And I'm like, and they're like, well, what do you want us to do with all your stuff? When are you coming back? I'm like, I'm not coming back. Yeah. I am not coming back.
I'm making this work.
They sell everything I have, throw it away, burn it. I don't care. I'm not ever coming back. And yeah, I went out and did a lot of commentary. I wanted, as I went out there, to be a pro gamer. Yeah. But I didn't even have enough money to go to the PC cafe to play. I was so broke. I lost a ton of weight. I could barely afford food. And I couldn't practice, but I was there. And, I figured out ways to stay. And I stayed until I moved a couple of years ago.
Your story is both inspirational, aspirational, and terrifying at the same time, right? And it's definitely on a path I will recommend for any of our younger viewers at home. You get to Korea. You talk a little bit about trying to make the pro thing work. Again, I can relate to that. I wanted to be a pro either in Quake or Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. I got to compete in Europe for the first time and saw the skill difference and went, nope, South Africa has not prepared me for this.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate that I'd watched a lot. So I can pinpoint the commentators that I took notes from, was inspired by it in the very early days when I was younger. Joe Miller, Stuart Toswat-Saw, Red Eye are some of the names. And then Tastosis popped up a few years later as people that I looked up to. Mm-hmm. How did you find Tasteless? How did you become so synonymous with English StarCraft 2 commentary?
Yeah, so, we knew each other from about 2003 because we were both top US players and we played on the ladder and had matches against each other and everything.
Who was better?
Me.
Yeah.
I was always,
That's what I want to hear.
He was very good though. He made USA finals multiple times and stuff.
Just not as good.
But actually his brother was my nemesis. Day 9 eliminated me from lots of tournaments back in the day. I'd have a lot of championships if not for him. So those plots, I tell you, they're important to me.
Unbelievable to think the two brothers and yourself, the journey, the back and forth. You could literally watch, there is a documentary already, but from the journey in the background. So anyways, please continue.
Yeah. So we knew each other from then, and he had gone to Korea a few months before on his little job offer with Arirang TV. And then he started working with GOM TV, which was going to get the GSL eventually, right? So, and he started with them in StarCraft 1. Okay, now the company I went over to, they owned the Hexatron team.
Yeah.
And the guy who ran it, Mr. Hong, he was like, his company turned into SPO TV, which is the biggest sports network out there. It wasn't called that back then. I forget the name off the top of my head what it was called, but that was the company that I was a part of. I was one of like 4 or 5 employees for this company that became the massive SPO TV. And so I'm like over there. And the funny thing is, the company Nick worked for, GOM TV, and then the company that I worked for were actually enemies, right? So we were the 2 English casters that existed out there. And like, for instance, the team that I worked for didn't put its players into the tournaments that he was casting, stuff like that. Like there was a big divide. There was a big divide. And so, but I wanted to work with Nick. We were friends. We were the only 2 guys. So it's like we were hanging out every day. After, when I got out of work, we'd go hang out and have beers and talk about stuff.
You have to build that community as well, right? So we've actually had a podcast. I'm not sure how this will pan out, but Nick talked about being in Seoul and kind of adapting to the way of life, bringing a piece of home with you in some ways. Mm-hmm. And I know from the League of Legends space even today, all of the English commentary team, they feel like a little family. And that's today where English commentary broadcast is kind of understood. Mm-hmm. For you guys, that didn't exist. Like you were building the path.
Yeah. We were the only ones out there. Like when we eventually got the correct visas and stuff, we were the first people in the country to have it. They had to invent it, right? Like it was a weird time where there wasn't anyone else like us. There was no path that was guided upon. And so, yeah, we kind of wanted to do things together rather than be rivals, like work together. Because we were really good friends anyways. Like we get along really, really well. And we just kind of worked towards it. Like, I softened my company, he softened his company. And eventually I jumped ship as StarCraft 2 came out and went over there for GSL. So,
best decisions ever?
Yeah. But yeah, we wanted to work together. We thought it was silly doing solo.
Ken, I apologize for just interrupting you again, but you say that so nonchalantly. Like, Visa was basically invented for the esports industry. South Korea is so far ahead in terms of understanding the industry, the market for esports. Arguably, potentially the first English commentators, the first English Visa. Like, you have to reflect on that with pride.
Yeah. Well, it was really tough in the beginning because, like, when I very first moved out there, I didn't have a work visa to do what I was doing. So I would every 3 months have to leave the country and come back in and get my thing stamped. And I didn't have a bank account. And it was like
the early days of all esports orgs and podcasts.
Yeah, it was very tough. And, as we grew over there and things became more professional, eventually we got entertainment visas, the E6s, but it was specifically for internet television, which they had to create this new thing that had to be like lobbied to get it. And because it was this new thing that was emerging and they didn't have anyone in the country doing it other than us. So yeah, that ended up working out and we were the first on that.
On behalf of many of my colleagues and friends, thank you, because you had it. And to all you youngins, you have no idea how good you got it. Okay, just before we start to move on a little bit now and talk about your specific commentary, I want to reflect on Tastosis for a moment. I've had the pleasure of speaking to Nick already, and this is an individual interview, so I'm focusing on Artosis. But as a duo, you guys are pretty much inseparable.
Yeah.
When you reflect on that journey, and maybe the fact that you wanted to be a player more than he did, that's the sentiment I got.
Yeah.
How do you reflect about your commentary duo? What are you most proud of?
Oh man, I think I'm proud that we lasted. It's like, there were very stressful times in there, right? So like there were times where we were having a hard time affording food, living places. We became so close. Friend isn't the right word for it. Like closer than brothers, truly. Like this guy was the best man at my wedding. Like he's the most important. When I started dating my wife, which was over 15 years ago, I told her like a few things, and one of the rules, I was like, if we're gonna actually be serious, you have to like, you have to, because it's just like, he's too important. He's too important to me, and like, it doesn't matter, even if you don't like him, you just have to pretend. She likes him. But anyways.
It's hard to not like him.
Yeah, he's a likable guy. But yeah, I think that I'm very proud of what we have accomplished and the fact that we were able to stay together and keep doing it. Because, obviously there's times where you're not getting along as well and stuff like that, but we kind of always have worked through everything. And like we put in the time and the effort and the communication. Like I think that we became, just such a good duo because we had to work so much together. It was really tough and we had to figure everything out. Like we have all sorts of, the amount of times that we have sat down over a beer and gone over commentary and ideas and
debating the philosophy behind it.
Yeah. Like there's so many different ways we can commentate. And like we would, before events, we'd be like, what's the feel of this one? And we'd discuss it and we'd end up with the same feel of like, yeah, this is the approach we should take, right? Like there's a very different thing sitting in a GSL studio for a round of 32 group and joking around. That's very different from like, this is going to be the only esports event in this city in this year, let's do it hype and professional, right? And so like the fact that we were able to kind of navigate our way through this entire thing and remain really close throughout it, I think is that's what I'm most proud of with us.
It's also something that has had a lasting impact, I think specifically as a duo. From somebody that watched a lot in the early days, you guys were particularly strong and pioneering of the more friendly conversational style of commentary because it was all very try-hard.
Yes.
A lot of shows were very sweaty and that's not a bad thing, but being able to make light and have fun and humanize is just another, tool in the toolkit.
Yeah. It's silly to take it too seriously. Yes. It's video game commentary. Like at the end of the day, that's what it is. We're talking about, people playing video games against each other. But also like, I think that the vibe that we went for a lot of it was like hanging out with your best friends, talking about the game you love.
Yeah.
And if you do that, like you kind of let the viewer come in as like a guy that's just hanging out with his buddies talking about StarCraft, I think that type of feel is just so superior to the try-hard shouting excitement stuff because it's like, especially with the amount we commentate. I mean, if you're only doing a couple events a year, okay, I get it, right? Like you're doing the round.
But you've got to match the game as well. Like there is a fair amount, depending on the type of game, depending on the matchup, there can be a fair amount of downtime in StarCraft,
Yeah.
So you've really got to alternate what you're doing and when. How did your casting develop over your career and change?
Yeah, well, it changed because we give each other like real feedback, and we don't really listen to anyone else. That maybe this is the best piece of advice I can give anyone is just don't read the internet. It's like garbage, and the people on there commenting, it's garbage. It's literally garbage. They don't know what they actually want, and the vocal minority is all you hear from. It's silly. So like, we have talked with each other so much and given each other real feedback to the point where like we even have things where like if someone's saying something too much, we let each other know, right? Yep. Like, oh, you're using this phrase too often, right? And so we're always working on it, even to this day, like we still commentate stuff together and we're still working on like, oh, is something wrong? You don't have the passion today, or like your cadence is off, or whatever it might be. And so like it definitely developed over time, and we kind of, I think we just looked at everything realistically.
Being self-reflective.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like we're watching and we know if we're happy with it or not. If we're happy with it, then it's good. And if we're not, then it's not good. And we've definitely had casts that we weren't happy with. We've had casts that we were ecstatic about. And yeah, that's, I guess as far as the growth, like when we started out, it's much lower quality. So like it definitely ramped up over time. But yeah, we kind of just expanded what we were able to do throughout the years, learning how to do hype casts or how to do it for, we've been hired to do things for like really general audiences. Like don't use any, slangs or make sure you don't slip a swear in there or something. When we did the ESPN thing for Heroes in the Dorm, for instance, like we learned how to cast to people who have no idea what the hell they're looking at. Right. So I think just kind of challenging ourselves and learning all the different various styles and how to do those and being kind of supportive of each other, but also being critical of each other, which is important, which that can hurt sometimes. Yeah. Occasionally Nick will say something about how I cast. And I know he's right. And I'm so angry about
because we're the product. It's our voice. It's our person. I really, but at the same time, even if it stings in the moment and you reflect on it and you go, he is right.
Yes.
That was good. Like the feedback from your peers is so much more valuable because they understand, they know what it's like being in front of the camera and things like that.
Yeah.
Before we move on to looking a little bit towards the future and the reason that you're here in Vegas with me and with Nick and everybody else, I want to talk a little bit about the esports industry as a whole. Again, you're one of the few people that has been around since literally the early days, has seen it develop and grow, has been along for the ride of the journey. And, the high highs of StarCraft 2 and the moment a slightly more downward phase. How do you reflect on the 26-year journey of StarCraft?
Yeah, it's been wild to see. StarCraft 2, I think, there's like a bunch of dividing points where it's like, okay, well, StarCraft 1 pro scene starts and it just ramps up over time. And then StarCraft 2 comes out. And that's like a really important moment where like that kind of, I wouldn't say exactly launched, but relaunched esports in the West and really made that's like the current chunk of esports run. Because there was esports before CPL and Quake and stuff like that. And I love that stuff too. But like StarCraft 2 is really where it kind of like, okay, now esports is officially started.
A massive step up.
Yeah. Like real professionalism.
The modern era. Because I think esports has always existed in some form, but there was this like modernization, industrialization maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that, of course, like kind of tanked StarCraft 1 for a long time. It kind of devoured that scene. And then StarCraft 2, like, did very, very well for a long time and then started slowly going down a little bit as far as popularity as League started to kind of go beyond it. And then, of course, we, like, kind of hit this weird wall where, like, Blizzard kind of got Activisioned, I guess you could say. And, without, like, Mike and Amy kind of leading the ship, it definitely fell off a little bit, and then EWC is like kind of reviving it right now, and I feel like StarCraft 2 is getting to a more sustainable place. And then, of course, you have, you had the split of StarCraft fans into 1 and 2, and 1 is doing so well in Korea right now, and doing well for us as well in the English-speaking scene. Watching the entirety of what's happened with StarCraft, I think that StarCraft is not done or even really close to done. And I feel like I was talking with Nick and some other friends years ago about this, where I feel like I saw the writing on the wall for a few things, that there would be like a little esports bubble pop because of live streaming. And that's actually when I started live streaming a little bit more many years ago, because I'm like, oh, I can see this in budget.
Got ahead of the curve. Well done.
Yeah. And then like, I also think that what we're seeing right now is like a return to quality as far as esports, because there was just every garbage game that came out was an esport for a while. But we're actually seeing that people care about the quality of their games again. It's not just a giant marketing budget from a cell phone game.
Yeah.
And there's actually good cell phone games now too, which is nice. But like for a while there, we had that weird thing where it's like, yeah, anything's an esport.
Build it and they will come. Just drop hundreds of millions of dollars. We'll definitely have an audience. Like, that's not how any game has ever succeeded in this space.
Exactly. And StarCraft 1 and 2 have like these giant fan bases that want to see them played. And honestly, I think if you show it to new people, it can still gain a lot of fans, because it's like the games are such high quality. And we have a good group of games right now that are like that, and more that are coming out too. And so I think that as people like stop just going with only the new thing, and it feels like that's happening right now in the video game industry, right? Where like a lot of games are crashing out because they're just not good enough. So like, yeah, I think people are starting to really look for higher quality games, and that's where StarCraft really shines.
I said this to Nick as well, is that I'm hopeful that we're going to get more like 1v1 style games coming up from indie developers.
Yeah.
FPS titles, like I'm a big Quake and Painkiller and Unreal Tournament fan.
Mm-hmm.
They've fallen by the wayside because controller kiddies have taken it over. I don't remember the last competitive RTS that was able to even stand toe-to-toe with StarCraft. There hasn't been.
Nothing.
So I'm hopeful for the future. Just before we move on to the future and what it looks like for Artosis, I would love for you to give me a bit of context on something, because Tasteless spoke excessively about how funny you were. You're the funniest person to work with. As a professional in the space, I have found that there are certain duos that bring out humor, and it's the synergy. I don't think I'm a funny person, but when I'm with somebody else, I am. So I would love for you to give me some context personally, why the duo works and why he says you're the funniest person.
Well, he's probably funnier than me, but he always says I'm funnier than him. I think he's maybe being humble. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, because we find each other so funny. Like, we joke around at events to the point where the other casters that we work with sometimes look over and like, what is going on with you guys? And we'll try to explain the joke with tears in our eyes, and they don't get it. And it's like, Tastosis' younger brother, Day9, has said once something about it where it's like, you two actually aren't funny. It's just you both think each other are so funny, and it's infectious.
You're in universe.
Yeah. We're in our own little universe having fun. But I think that's actually like, if you want to be like a personality or a commentator or whatever it might be, the most important thing is to kind of be yourself and do what you enjoy. Like that's the biggest thing. When I see people fail, it's because they're kind of acting, they're pretending to be something else, they're changing their personality. If you're just yourself and having a good time, and Nick and I are almost the same age, and we had like very similar childhoods, playing the same games, watching the same cartoons. So like our senses of humor are the same.
And you both despise Sean Plott as well.
He's ruined so much.
Okay. Look, I know this is the Origins podcast, and I feel like we've covered a lot of ground. I'm very excited to speak to you, so I feel I've cut you off a little bit, which I apologize about. But I now want to look forward. What is happening in Artosis' life for the next 12 months, 24 months, and where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah, so let me start at the top there at the 10-year thing, right? There's like the 2005 WCG video where there was a documentary, like small documentary crew that was following me from my sponsors. Because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna win. Of course,
yeah.
Ran into Day9 a little bit too early, unfortunately. But yeah, so I said in that video, I'm like, I'll play StarCraft till I'm 50. Well, I'm 42 now, and I look forward 10 years. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably, as long as my wrists hold up and I take good care of them, which I'm very careful about that, I actually think I'm going to play the game forever. Like, it's just, I'm not changing really anymore. I know who I am. I know what I like, and it's StarCraft. So I do think I'll still be around in the scene doing StarCraft in 10 years for that. As far as like the shorter term, we thought there was like a lot of RTS games being worked on, and we thought one might rise up and be really good, and that just wasn't the case, unfortunately. So I think, at least for the time being, it's like just, I'm still having a great time with StarCraft. I still am completely obsessed with the game, so that's going to continue forward. As far as like career-wise, like I hope that a few more tournaments pop up. Blizzard just announced BlizzCon kind of returning, which is really exciting. I hope EWC picks up StarCraft 2 again. They haven't announced that yet, but I hope that they do that and continue forward with that. So I hope to continue to cast like whatever events are left. I do a lot of live streaming, and I enjoy doing that, and because I get to practice StarCraft while I'm doing it, which is really my passion. And I work a lot with like my YouTube stuff. Like, I have a casting channel that has been going for years, where a cast goes up every day. I have thousands of casts on it, and it does very well for me, and I'm very happy about it. And my main YouTube channel with like more fringy stuff, like if I travel to a LAN tournament, I'll make a video. So like, that's the type of stuff over the next few years that I think that is going to be seen a lot out of me. As far as beyond that, like, I have some ideas, but I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to go. Like, that stuff's going to keep up, and I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm going more towards YouTube production than streaming, but I stream the same amount. It's just like a lot of my extra time is being put into YouTube.
I will say thank you for the commentary. It's kept me entertained for many, many years. I'm very hopeful that I'll be able to interview you about the 2 to 5 year period that we haven't discussed.
Yeah.
Look, I've held you here for a very long time. We are nearing the end of our conversation, and the reason that we're all here at the Esports Awards for 2025. Before I get to the final talking points, I have a section that I end the Origins podcast with every time. It's rapid fire questions.
Okay.
I'm going to shoot it at you. I want you to give me a quick gut answer. Sometimes we can add a little bit of context. Sometimes it's one word. We'll feel it out. I think this is an easy one, just to get you warmed up. The favorite game you have ever mastered?
My favorite game I ever mastered? Oh, I would like to consider myself a StarCraft 1 master. And so, yeah, I would have to say StarCraft 1.
I'm going to add a personal one. Your favorite cheese strat from StarCraft 1?
My favorite cheese strat? I hate cheese. I'm notorious for hating cheese strategies overall, but it would be the 2-factory Terran Rush. That is,
you never
that's my...
cheeses yourself? You've never pulled
I mix them in tournaments because it's the correct move.
Hypocrite.
But I don't like them. I don't like them, yeah.
That's fair, that's fair. Okay. Okay, your favorite GSL moment you've ever casted?
My favorite GSL moment I ever casted. Oh, I know what Tastosis said. I kind of have to go towards the MVP Squirtle moment. That was like really big. But I'll go with another one here too. When we had GSL at BlizzCon, that was such an amazing, like that whole production, the amount of fans that came out, how loud they were for the games and stuff. That was like a really special moment, even though it was very early on.
Make sure you go back and watch those VODs. They are awesome. Your favorite Tastosis moments?
My favorite Tastosis moment. Actually, I'm having I feel like there's something playing in my head where I'm just seeing all these different moments that we've had together. I don't know that I have a favorite one. Again, that BlizzCon one was pretty powerful, and we have so many moments together. It's such a shared history that I don't think I can give one favorite.
In the history of StarCraft, 1, Brood War, 2, all the expansions, who is the most underrated player of all time?
Oh my God, that's a really good question. The most underrated player of all time. I'm going to have to go with Clyde in StarCraft 2.
Okay.
He was so god tier in season 1 of GSL, and I talked him up so much, and then he just kind of fizzled. Yeah, he was incredibly underrated, as was Younghwa.
I'm going to ask you to chime in on that. I've never done this before. It's the first time. But Tastosis had said to me that the player that's had the largest impacts on StarCraft all time was Flash. Then he changed his mind to Boxer.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that assessment?
Boxer is the most important player.
So he got it right. Okay, good. That's what I wanted to check.
For sure.
I'm just checking his homework because I don't have the same history. Very, very last one on the quick fire. What does esports mean to you in one word?
Fun.
There we have it. Quick fire done. Now, the reason that you are here, this is the 2025 Esports Awards. It's the decade of Esports Awards. And for the 2025, the class of Lifetime Achievement inductees, you're one of them. Alongside your casting partner, alongside several other big names in the industry. What does it mean to you to be honored by the panel and by the industry for the contributions you've made?
Yeah, no, it feels great. Nick and I have been around forever. And I think what feels so perfect about it is that it's he and I together, because neither of us would be where we are or as successful as we are without each other. So it's really a great feeling, and especially because it's going to be shared with him.
What would you say to aspiring broadcasters or competitors, or I'm going to be direct, children who are struggling in school and hope to replicate your story? What advice would you give them from a Lifetime Achievement inductee? Okay,
so I think for players and commentators, it's different. So if you're a commentator, you have to be yourself. I know commentators that turn on some sort of alter ego when they cast, and it's not as good. People are likable. Just be yourself. Be your nerdy, authentic self. Because if you're trying to be like someone else, you're not going to do as good a job. It's as simple as that. So be yourself in the cast. That is the number one thing. Okay. So as far as players go, I mean, you have to practice with intention. This is the most important thing. And it's something that I continue to learn. And I've been playing competitively in StarCraft for 26 years. I have a pretty good resume, but it's if you're not practicing intentionally, I put into StarCraft, I estimate about 50,000 hours. And so much of that was just grinding nonstop on ladder or something where I'm not learning correctly. So it's important to really think about what you're doing and actually analyze it. It's not just about time put in, it's about the quality that you're putting in during that time.
And what about to the kids who maybe are struggling in school, maybe are hoping to replicate it?
Yeah,
would you recommend your journey to?
No, well, I wouldn't recommend my journey, because if you're trying to decide if you're going to try to do a journey like mine, then it's not going to work.
Yeah, there you
go. For my journey, I had to do it.
Yeah.
There was no other option. It was the only thing I wanted to do. I would have died to achieve it. And that's not something that you can create by thinking about it. It's either that is the way or it is not. And so I would say, don't do it like that. Keep it as a side thing. And if it grows, it grows.
For the last opportunity, I'd love for you to just address your camera directly. Where can we find you? What are you streaming? What's the very next thing you're working on that people can tune into?
All right. Well, I stream 5 days a week from about 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. EST on twitch.tv/Artosis. I have 2 YouTube channels that I run. Artosis Casts is the better of them. And that is every single day a new upload of a commentary. And it's got thousands. And StarCraft hasn't been patched since the year 2000. So they all work. They're evergreen content. And yeah, other than that, Artosis TV on YouTube is where I make my more, I don't know, different types of YouTube content. So that's
influencer content. Come on.
Yeah. My StarCraft influencer content.
You influenced me, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Both to you and your co-caster. Tastosis as a duo seriously have massive impact on the industry. I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you to everybody tuning in to the Esports Awards Origins podcast. We will come back with another episode. We have several that we're recording here from the 2025 show.